As early voting ends, multiple states are stepping up security due to some unusual levels of threats, mostly aimed at election workers. That's according to the FBI, which also says it's received more than 1,000 tips since June of 2021.
Senior I-Team reporter Jessica McMaster sat down with the Kansas Secretary of State to discuss those concerns here at home.
I've talked to some people that were concerned either about drop boxes, advanced mail ballots, or voter fraud machines. And when we explain, most of the time, like, oh, I'm so glad to hear that. I didn't know that. There are some folks that want the fraud. They care more about their conspiracy being right than the elections being safe.
Safe elections. It's a major concern following the 2020 presidential election where there's still no proof of widespread issues.
It's getting concerning.
Republican Secretary of State Scott Schwab's been accused of being corrupt. He tells us his office has received numerous threats.
Some of my colleagues at Secretaries of State across the country are having to have security detail. It's something we've had to weigh in the office as the rhetoric goes up. Because, you know, you just, at the end of the day, I still want to be able to come home to my kids and my wife.
An Arizona sheriff recently stepped up security after two masked people came to a drop box carrying guns and wearing bulletproof vests.
It troubles me that suddenly others feel compelled to act out in a way that is potentially criminal intimidation or criminal threats, trying to undermine democracy under this cloak of patriotism. And in doing so, what they're doing is they're destroying the most important institution in our nation, you know, the freedom and the right to vote.
The FBI recently announced these 7 states continue to see an unusual number of threats aimed at people who run elections, some states going as far as installing bulletproof glass where the ballots are counted.
My concern is poll workers, they do this as a civic duty. Nobody goes to school to major in elections. They do this as volunteers and they get a little bit of a stipend or a payment for doing it. To harass, to bully, to threaten.
The false statements over election fraud prompted the Johnson County Election Board to open its doors to the public this summer in an effort to educate voters on how the process works.
We're accountable and account for every voter, and we account for every ballot, and those are in balance. We know how many voters check in, and we know how many ballots have been cast, and those are equal.
Election officials, many of whom are Republican like Schwab, have proven time and time again the results of the 2020 election were accurate.
The problem is folks can't accept that their issue or their person lost. And you don't win every political race. It's ridiculous, and it's the same thing. I've lost a race before.
Voters refusing to accept the outcome after a president refused to concede.
It's rigged and stolen.
Today, several Republicans now run their campaign based on Trump's disproven claims. Now election workers brace for potential violence stemming from those unproven accusations.
We've been accused of, well, it's fraud because too many Democrats voted. Voting's not a crime.
Schwab says he'll continue to do his job with integrity that's fueled by his love for family and the never-ending heartache over the loss of his son Caleb, who died at a water park in KCK.
What do you say to those people who say, Scott, you're corrupt, you're rigging these elections? What do you want them to know about you?
It's frustrating. When you lose a son, you got one thing left, and that's your integrity. Because I have 3 more boys, and I want them to be men of integrity. I really am not going to waste their future because I'm somehow going to be corrupt.
We spoke with several county officials in the KC Metro. So far, they tell us they've not received any complaints over voter intimidation. For the I-Team, I'm Jessica McMaster, KSHB 41 News.